Which teams are the best fit for a trade this offseason, and what would it take to get Dylan Cease from the Chicago White Sox? We're going to talk about all of this today on Locked On Cardinals.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Cardinals fans. I'm JD Hafford, and I'm a national radio sports anchor. Born and raised in the Lou and a lifetime Cardinals fan, and I'm your host for Locked On Cardinals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Follow me on Twitter, at JD Sports Radio. You can follow the podcast at LO_Cardinals. I want to thank those of you who make Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment if you're going to join us on YouTube, where the visuals come in, pictures and framing. You could have seen Richie Palacios on this show yesterday. The Cardinals utility infielder, outfielder, whatever you want to call him, just baseball player. He was on here yesterday. It's good. And we're getting very close to the 8,000 subscribers. We were within like 5 last time I checked today. So make sure you come out and check us out. If you haven't gotten a chance to, hit that notification button so you know when new episodes are posted. This is a show serving Cardinal Nation and giving the best fans in baseball all of the info about the birds on the bat. Today's episode brought to you by Jase Medical. Empower yourself when you purchase a Jase case, providing you with a personal supply of 5 antibiotics that treat 50-plus infections. You can get yours today at jasemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com. All right, once again, sorry for this one coming out so late. Had to do my normal job today and kind of caught me in the middle of things. So I was out doing West Coast stuff. So I apologize for this, but we've got a lot to talk about, a lot of fun stuff to talk about, trade rumors, trade speculation, free agent predictions. It's fun. Are we having fun yet? I feel like you should be. I think it's fun each day reading about all the different journalists coming up with different ratings and different places the players are going. I know a lot of it can be mind-numbing. I do know that, but when you have a season like the Cardinals just had, we knew things were going to happen. Changes were going to happen, and it appears that almost anything and everything is on the table right now, which leaves us a lot of room for speculation and for rumors to be swirling. And, we've got a few of them to talk about here today involving a number of different players. Tommy Edman, Dylan Carlson, Brendan Donovan. We're going to get into all of it. We did an episode last week talking about a deal with Dylan Carlson, but we got another one here which isn't one that I'd really heard a lot about. So we're going to chat about it today. Now, this stems from an article that the great Derrick Goold at STLtoday.com released, where he brought up 4 teams that the Cardinals could end up doing business with to acquire pitching. Now, Goold makes a really, 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 really good point, an observation with this year's free agent market. And I want to give him full credit on this one because there seems to be a lot more pitching available than impact bats, right? Shohei Ohtani, obviously your number one guy, hitting wise. Also, you could say pitching wise, even though he's not going to pitch this coming year. But after that, it goes to Cody Bellinger, who's really, really good. And then it really kind of tails off, like it drops. So we know in the pitching market, you've got Ohtani if you want to count him. But then it goes Blake Snell, Aaron Nola, Jordan Montgomery, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Sonny Gray, and more and more and more. It's just stronger in the pitching market than it is in the hitting market. So what his point of this is that maybe because of this, the Cardinals' surplus of infielders and outfielders might be something that more people want to get their hands on because there's not a lot of the free agent ones to sign. So here are the 4 teams that Goold brings up. We're going to start with the New York Yankees. Now, we've heard the rumors at the trade deadline this past year about the Yankees and the Cardinals. It talked about some possible deals that included the Cardinals sending an offensive player of some sort to the Bronx to get some of their young pitching in return. Ultimately, nothing came to fruition, but Goold says the Yankees were exploring the market of younger outfielders, left-handed bats, and had been kicking around the name of Dylan Carlson. Now, Gould continues saying it's not clear if the Yankees' interest in Carlson has followed them into the offseason, but according to sources, two left-handed hitting Cardinals have at least been discussed by the Yankees as potential targets. Brendan Donovan and Alec Burleson, both of whom are pre-arbitration players and both of whom are coming off injuries. Donovan has started a throwing program in Jupiter as he returns from elbow surgery. Burleson fractured his hand. He's rehabbing from the surgery he had to support the bones mending. And then Carlson is in the Phoenix area recovering from his foot surgery. Now, Gould brings up the names of AAA right-hander Clayton Beeter. We talked about him at the deadline, and a name that he did not bring up, at least I had never heard this one until now, relief pitcher Ron Marinaccio, as guys the Cardinals would have interest in, but says that the Cardinals are looking for immediate additions to improve the Major League club this winter and intend to sell high, if they sell at all, on their left-handed hitters. So that was interesting. Next on the list here, he's got the Seattle Mariners. Again, remember we talked about the Mariners at the deadline this past season and after it, actually. Specifically, the name of Logan Gilbert was a guy that had been brought up in multiple publications as someone that the Cardinals had interest in. Very good, young right-hander, a lot of years of control available. But Gould also brings up other names that Seattle has in their rotation and on their staff: George Kirby, Brian Wu, and Bryce Miller. But points out that Mariners GM Jerry Dipoto says, I don't know that moving a starter is in the cards for us this year. We don't want to eat away at that depth. Now, to me, that sounds like an invite. You want some of what we got? It's going to cost you big time. That's what that sounds like to me. The question is, would Donovan or Edman or Carlson, O'Neill be a big enough bat, or a combination of those guys would be enough bats in Dipoto's mind to move one of his young arms? That's the real question. I don't know. Again, it's tough for me because I'm not talking to these guys. I got to go off of what these writers are saying and what they're talking about. I don't know how everybody views the Cardinals players. I don't know how high people think of Tommy Edman and Brendan Donovan and Tyler O'Neill and Dylan Carlson at this point. A lot of the trade value, especially for O'Neill and Carlson, has gone because of the injuries and the lack of production the last 2 years. Edman, very, very good. I know we love him, but I don't know how everybody else feels about him. And then there's Brendan Donovan, who I think a lot of people like. I know we like them or like him. But does everybody think of him as highly as we do here in St. Louis? Or as high as the Cardinals think of him? I'm just not totally sure. For years, we've heard that the Cardinals value their guys way more than the rest of the league does. And they overvalue some of their prospects. So I don't know. I don't know what the case is. But next on the list is the Toronto Blue Jays. And the trade proposal that's brought up here is one that if it happened like in 2022, you would trip over yourself trying to hit the yes button, accept the trade like you do in fantasy baseball or football, whatever you're playing. You're like, yes, I'll take that. I'll tell you what this trade is next on Locked On Cardinals. We spend a lot of time talking together, you and I. We get fired up together on wins and losses, who starts and who sits. And I'm thankful for the connection that we have. And today I want our chat to be a little bit more personal. I just learned that you can get a 1-year supply on ED medications. You realize what that means? Bring on extended travel. Bring on the next natural disaster or supply chain issue. You are covered, my friend. You don't have to worry about whether or not you can refill your generics for Cialis, Viagra, or Herbatio prescription. And this is possible because of our friends at Jase Medical. You can go online right now at jasemedical.com to receive your 12-month supply on your daily medication. Now, remember to use the promo code. Very important here. Locked On at checkout for a discount as well. A verified customer had this to say about Jase, quote, I am thankful for this service. Supply chain issues caused me to cut pills in half to have it. I ordered most of my daily meds with a year's supply. I also ordered antibiotic kit. I feel secure now. Prices are lower than local pharmacies. I highly recommend this for everyone. Now, if you or someone you love would get some peace of mind by having a year's supply of any daily med, go to jasemedical.com to see if it's offered to you. Remember, got to use that promo code. It'll save you some money. Promo code is locked on, LOCKEDON, for $20 off your purchase. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. You can leave comments on YouTube as well as on Twitter X anytime you want. Feedback always welcome. It's always encouraged, whether you agree or disagree with what we say on this show. It's okay. We're all fans having a conversation about what we think our favorite team, the St. Louis Cardinals, should be doing or shouldn't be doing. We're running down the list from STLtoday.com's Derrick Goold, who did an article about 4 teams that seem to make good trade partners for the Cardinals in their attempt to get the precious pitching. And I have the article linked in the description and in the show notes, so you can read the entire thing for yourself, because I'm just taking little tidbits here and there from the article. He goes more in depth on all of this stuff, so I encourage you to go read the article. Next on his list is the Toronto Blue Jays, whom the Cardinals obviously familiar with after trading both Jordan Hicks and Genesis Cabrera to them this past season, although those trades were under very different circumstances. Remember, Cabrera got DFA. The Cardinals just did not want him around anymore, was ready to move on. And then Hicks, obviously, was a big catch for them and is now a free agent. And the name that he brings up is not any of the top 4 starters in their rotation from this past year, from 2023. So no Kevin Gausman or Jose Barrios or Chris Bassett or even Yusei Kikuchi. None of them. But instead, he brings up the name of 2022 All-Star and former first-round pick Alek Manoah. In 2022, Manoah went 16-7 with a 2.24 ERA. His ERA plus was 172. He was an All-Star. He finished 3rd in the Cy Young voting and even got some MVP votes. But 2023, completely different story. An absolute nightmare for Manoah. He went 3-9, ERA 5.87. His ERA plus dropped all the way down to 72. Remember, 100 is the league average. So 72. He was sent to the organization's minor league complex at one point and then was sent to AAA at the end of the season. Never appeared in games there and didn't pitch for the Blue Jays. I think it was after like the beginning of August. Like it was over. And we've heard the term lottery ticket or reclamation project kind of kicked around this offseason when discussing the Cardinals' possible pitching additions for next year, where Mo seems to be comfortable if he could get 2 legit dudes, and then if they could get one of these lottery tickets or reclamation projects as a 3rd guy, that would be kind of nice. Lucas Giolito, someone who would fit in that bucket. Alek Manoah would also fit there. And the thing about Manoah is he's still only 25 years old, guys. And Gould brings up that Ben Nicholson, who's a sports writer for Sportsnet, brought up a Dylan Carlson for Alek Manoah trade among the dozens of ideas that he had to alter the Blue Jays roster for next year and make them better. Like he went through so many different ways. He had grids set up and everything. It was kind of a wild read. But according to the general manager of the Toronto Blue Jays, Ross Atkins, they are leaning towards Alek Manoah having the 5th spot in their rotation in 2024, saying, quote, he has earned the right to have a strong leg up in the 5th starter competition, and that he feels so good about him returning to the 2021-22 version of himself. Now, to me, that doesn't necessarily sound like a guy who's looking to trade him, but at the same time, it doesn't sound like a guy that is banking on the guy who going into last season was the ace of the staff along with Kevin Gausman. Yeah, it sounds like he's going to be all right to be like our 5th guy. It just doesn't sound like there's a lot of confidence behind that. Manoah's dominant slider vanished last year. His walk rate went up. The strikeout percentage goes down. Now, could Ali, Dusty Blake, their trusty iPads, and maybe Yachty, if he comes back, figure out what happened and bring Manoah back to form? I think many fans would have their doubts about that, especially if Yachty isn't around. If you've read any of the comments in any of these videos recently about people's thoughts on Ollie and Dusty Blake and all of that. So, but Alek Manoah, an interesting name. He's had one bad season, still 25. You swap him for Dylan Carlson. Can you turn him around? I feel like that would be a good try. Again, if that was 2022, you'd be like, yes, I will take that. So the last team on the list here, the Chicago White Sox, who we're going to talk a lot about here at the end. Gould points out that their new general manager, Chris Getz, bluntly came out and said, I don't like our team. That's what he said. That was a quote. And described it to the Chicago Sun-Times as not well-rounded and that there are no untouchables, which is music to the ears of Cardinals fans who are dreaming of somehow, some way of bringing one Dylan Cease to the friendly confines of Busch Stadium. Now, Cease, if you're unfamiliar with him, finished second in the Cy Young voting ahead of Manoah in 2022. Verlander ended up winning it, but he was second. Also had a down year in 2023. Not Manoah bad by any means, but 7-9, 4.58 ERA. Not exactly what the Chicago White Sox fans were anticipating from him in 2023. But they had a similar path like the Cardinals, man. Things just went bad. It just did not work out for the White Sox. And Gould wonders what the Sox would seek in return is wider open than teams specifically looking for impact lineup additions. The Sox could veer younger, seek upside in control. They could look to fill openings like at shortstop. You know, they just let Tim Anderson go. Or those offensive options. They could also try to add depth as they explore other trades from a roster Getz seems eager to alter. I mean, if you can get Dylan Cease, like, wow, right? That would be nice. If you could make a trade and get like a Dylan Cease, and then you're able to sign, because then you wouldn't get one of the top tier guys because you would trade people. So, you know, I mean, I still want Sonny Gray. I still like that. I like that deal. 2-3 years or whatever, probably 3 years. But if you could do those two and then like a Seth Lugo or a Michael Wacha, I feel like you'd be okay with that. I think most fans would be. Maybe not. Maybe it's Yamamoto or bust for some people. But when talking about Dylan Cease trades, our buddy Josh Jacobs at redbirdrans.com, I tried to get him on the show. He was too busy, and I was recording late tonight, so it didn't work out. But he did put out an article about 5 deals for Dylan Cease, and we're going to run through that, and we'll tell you all about them next. There's some tough ones on here. We'll talk about them next on Locked On Cardinals. All right, my friend and yours, Josh Jacobs at redbirdrans.com, put together 5 separate deals that he thinks could be good enough to grab Dylan Cease from the Chicago White Sox. Now, per usual, I'll link the article in the description and in the show notes. I'm just giving you the little quick tidbits and rundown. The whole article, way more interesting than what I'm going to tell you. So I encourage you to please go read the article for yourself. And also, when we go through these, keep an open mind here, because I know people get worked up about these different trade packages. Josh is not saying that this has to happen. Like these deals are the way they have to be done. But he's just giving you different scenarios as to what might need to happen if the Cardinals want somebody of the caliber of Dylan Cease, who also has multiple years of control still left. Okay? So number one, Dylan Cease, in exchange, I'm going to put a Dylan Cease picture back up here too. By the way, I love these Sox uniforms. If you're watching on YouTube, those are great. I like those much better than the black and white pinstripe. I think those are awesome. Anyway, Dylan Cease, in exchange for Tommy Edman, top pitching prospect Tink Hence, former pitching prospect, or I shouldn't say former number 1 pitching prospect, because he was number 1 there for a little bit. He was actually ahead of Liberatore for a little bit there. But Gordon Graceffo, who was still a pitching prospect, and outfielder Joshua Baez, who is a young outfielder, a lot of power potential, but just hasn't quite gotten there just yet, but he's very, very young. Anyway, this is what Josh says. The White Sox currently have openings at both shortstop and second base, making Edman a perfect fit for their middle infield. He's got the same amount of club control left as Cease and could be a long-term answer for them up the middle or a future trade chip for them to utilize. Teen Kent's is the real star of this package, though, and would be the tough pill the Cardinals would need to swallow to make this happen. From the Cardinals' end, they acquire a frontline starter and do so by only giving up one Major League Baseball regular in the process. So MLB regular in the process. So that's number one. Number two, Dylan Cease for Teen Kent's again. This year's first-round pick, outfielder Chase Davis, Alec Burleson, and pitching prospect Sim Robertson, who they got from Toronto. That was part of the Jordan Hicks deal. Josh writes that after Hentz, the next biggest piece of the puzzle is Chase Davis. Davis projects to be a left-handed slugger who could stay in center field, but likely ends up in one of the corners instead. He has a very high ceiling as a potential power-hitting outfield bat, but there's also no guarantee he will reach those heights. He is likely 2 or 3 years away from St. Louis as well, but would be appealing to Chicago in their rebuild. This is a lot of prospect capital to give up, but that is the cost of acquiring top-end starters with control. Number 3, Dylan Cease for shortstop Mason Wynn, Dylan Carlson, and Matthew Liberatore. Now, everybody's freaking out, I'm sure. You're here and then you're going, no, we're not trading Mason Wynn. Well, Josh acknowledges the upside of Wynn, the glove that we saw, the speed that he displayed. Hopefully the bat, which struggled after his call-up last year, but was very good at AA and then AAA. This is what Josh says. I'm not quick to move him, talking about Mason Wynn, and I'd much rather give up a strong package of prospects or something involving Edman instead. But if the White Sox are after one of the Cardinals' young middle infielders, I think Wynn is the one I would part with first. Nolan Gorman and Brendan Donovan mean way too much to this club's offense, and Edman is more than adequate to cover shortstop if needed. I don't want to trade Wynn, and would name a lot of other players I would part with before him, but it's not a trade. I'm a hard no on. So he's not saying never, which John Mozeliak has said over and over before, that you never say never. Nobody is untradeable. If somebody brought you this outlandish package, you would trade just about anybody. But clearly here, he is not actively wanting to trade Mason Wynn for Dylan Cease. Okay, so everybody calm down. Number 4, Cease for Nolan Gorman, former first-rounder Michael McGreevy, and catching prospect Leonardo Bernal. Josh writes, here's a deal I'm completely out on, but I'm offering it up as a look at what the White Sox may end up asking for. The White Sox still need to sell tickets, and getting a ton of prospects or Tommy Edman in return doesn't necessarily do that. Gorman could provide them with a young building block for their future contender, while also giving them someone to watch next season. The Cardinals cannot trade Gorman. If they would rather trade Gorman to get their pitching than spend the money, that is a massive mistake. And to that, I say amen. I have been a hard no on trading Gorman since last year, and I'm glad that Josh agrees with me on that one. He continues here saying, Michael McGreevy has a very low ceiling as a pitch to contact back of the rotation starter, but it's still a helpful piece to have. Leonardo Bernal is a very intriguing catching prospect, but Ivan Herrera's presence makes him expendable here. So, again, doesn't want to trade Gorman, thinks it's a dumb idea to trade Gorman, but that's probably somebody that the White Sox are going to ask about. So, you got to put it into a package just to do it. And finally, number 5, Dylan Cease for Brendan Donovan, Gordon Graceffo, Michael McGreevy, and shortstop prospect Jonathan Mejia. Josh writes, this may be an unpopular take, but I also would hang up the phone if the White Sox asked for Brendan Donovan. He's a different player than Nolan Gorman, but I think is still equally valuable long-term. Having Gorman, Donovan, and Nootbaar is crucial to bringing balance to the Cardinals' order. You know how bad I wanted to say bring balance to the force right there? I want to say that so bad. Anyway, over the last 5 or 6 years, they've been very right-handed heavy, which can make matching up with the best right-handed pitchers in baseball difficult. Jonathan Mejia is another raw prospect who the White Sox can take a chance on long-term. So there you go. Those are the 5 packages that Josh Jacobs comes up with at redbirdrantz.com. All right, let's see. What do we think about these? Well, look, I have no doubts about Just let me give you my own opinion on this. I have no doubts about Brendan Donovan's value to this team. But if I have a chance, let me just paint this for you. If I have a chance to get a Cy Young caliber pitcher, and I believe that Dylan Cease is going to be that guy moving forward, much less the guy you saw in 2023, more of the guy you saw in 2022. If that's what I believe, am I really going to let a soon-to-be 27-year-old, Donovan turns 27 in January, am I really going to let a soon-to-be 27-year-old utility guy, albeit a very good utility guy, one of the best in baseball, but am I going to let that guy who's coming off elbow surgery stand in the way of me getting somebody of the caliber of Dylan Cease? No, I'm not. I get it. I get that Brendan Donovan is good. And he's got, I'm putting this picture up because he's got the most amazing hair in the world, right? Good looking dude. Swings from the left-hand side of the plate. Showed more power this season. But if I believe that Dylan Cease is him, I'm not letting Brendan Donovan hold me back from acquiring that person. I'm just not. I mean, these are hard decisions, which is why I'm glad I'm not the one who actually has to make them. This guy does. John Mozeliak. He's the one who's got to make these decisions. But I'm curious, which one of these 5 scenarios that Josh presents would be your favorite if you had to choose one? Now, just pretend you're Mo. Hold on, I got a better picture of Mo because he's looking laid back right there. Let's get to this one up here. Where do I have any of him with a bow tie? Ooh, here we go. You got a bow tie on there. This is it from the Adam Wainwright ceremony. Anyway, pretend you're Mo. You got the bow tie on like he does in this picture. He's not wearing his glasses in this one, but pretend you got your glasses on because you're very serious right now. You've cleaned them. You're ready to go. You're pulling the trigger on one of these 5 scenarios. And you get Dylan Cease. All you got to do is pick one. Which one are you going to go with? I'm probably rolling with number 5. I'm sorry. To be honest, I'm going with number 5. I think the Cardinals can survive without Brendan Donovan. I think he's good. But again, I'm not letting him hold me back from getting somebody of the caliber of Dylan Cease. I'm just not going to do it. I like number 1. It's good, but I'd hate to have to lose Hence in that one. But what do we always say? You got to give to get. You got to give to get. I don't foresee the White Sox getting robbed in a trade for Dylan Cease. I think a lot of teams are going to be after him. If what this GM for the White Sox, I mean, the way he talks about their team, they're like, it sounds like we're going to blow it up. I'd ask about Luis Robert Jr. while you got him on the horn, because I think he's an amazing talent. But uncomfortable decisions is the term that Mozeliak recently said. I got the quote here. In an offseason where there is certainly a lot of noise of what may or may not happen with the market, our approach is going to be that we understand that there might be some uncomfortable decisions for us, and we'll see how we react to it. But we're also not going to just do something stupid just to say that we did it. Well, I hope not. I hope you don't just trade people just to trade people. I hope that there's a purpose behind it, and you've done your due diligence, and you make a good trade, a good baseball trade where both teams benefit from it, at least from the outset. And hopefully at the end, the Cardinals win the trade, which more times than not they have over the years. But let me know what you guys think would be the most, let's steal another word from Mozeliak, prudent. Let me know what you guys think would be the most prudent deal out of those that Josh Jacobs presented to you, and we can revisit this in another episode. Maybe we do it tomorrow. Thank you again for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. If you haven't already, give us a follow on Twitter X at LO_Cardinals and at JD Sports Radio. Please like and subscribe on YouTube. We're almost to 8,000. My goal was to get to 8,000 before the end of the year, and it looks like we're going to do that before we even hit the middle of November. So maybe I should be shooting higher than 8,000. Maybe we should be shooting for 9 or 10 by the end of the year. I don't know. we'll need the Cardinals to sign somebody big for that to happen, I'm sure. But anyway, I appreciate all of you who already like and subscribe daily. And for those of you who are new, welcome aboard. Help our channel and love for the Cardinals grow. You guys are the best fans in baseball for a reason, and I will see you next time on Locked On Cardinals.